it was good seeing Sebastian Fundora back in the ring. It had been about a year since we last saw him. Last time we was out there, we saw him get that big upset win over Tim Tszyu when he got the nasty cut on his forehead. He's bleeding all over. That was the best fight of Fundora's career. Best fight. Not only was it the fight in which he won the world titles, but it was the fight, in my opinion, when he kind of had this growing up moment in a lot of ways. There was a lot of times coming into that fight when people thought, he's got what it takes. He just needs to put it together, needs to get the range more, needs to work his jab, needs to use those physical tools that he's got in that height and that reach and everything. That was the fight when he seemed to really pull it together and kind of come into his own. So it was really good in a lot of ways to see that happen. Bad night for Tim Tszyu. He was the big favorite coming in. A lot of people thought that he was going to win that and it was going to catapult him to the next point in his career. Ends up being Fundora who gets it. That was like a year ago, man. That was like a year ago, and we're sitting there and we keep hearing about these potential fights that he's going to get. Right? Errol Spence jumps in the ring right afterwards. We hear about that. Is it going to be Terrence Crawford? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? Where's this whole thing going to go? There was a little while people were even mentioning Charles Conwell as being a potential opponent for him. All said and done, we get Chordale Booker. Now, I don't blame you if you never heard about Chordale Booker. This isn't some big name guy. He's not out there. Not only does PBC not known for keeping their guys active, but every now and then we get a complete dud like this one. Okay? Fundora did what he was supposed to do, though. He's supposed to go out there. He's supposed to defend his belts. He's supposed to do it in dominating fashion. It's exactly what we saw. And every time we see Fundora go out, we pretty much know what we're going to get at this point. We get a guy who everybody doubts him a little bit, man. 6'5", 6'6", looks like a strong gust of wind is going to blow this guy over. He doesn't really keep the range that we would normally expect. He isn't out there popping the jab crazy and keeping people at distance and working behind a 1-2 or something like. Sebastian Fundora isn't the second coming of Tommy Hearns by any stretch of the imagination. But when he goes out there, we know we're going to get a guy who's going to bring it. He stays on that front foot. He brings the pressure. He is a pressure fighter. Even though he doesn't fit the typical mold of what we think of as a pressure fighter, that's what he brings. The guy's coming out there. He's throwing a lot of punches. He's staying on the front foot, backing his man up, doing what he needs to do to stay in control of the fight. Fights well on the inside despite having those super long arms and the lanky frame and everything else. So in that sense, we saw it, man. We saw the same thing that we always see when he comes out there and wins. But when I say the same thing that we always see, we also saw him get caught. We saw him get caught with some big right hooks. We saw him get caught with some overhand lefts. And we've seen him get dropped before, man, when he just deflated from Brian Mendoza, right? Just crumbled in the middle of the ring from those brutal shots. So he's an interesting character, right? Because he's one of these guys that we look at and it's not just me, man. It's a lot of people, but there's always this doubt, right? There's little doubt. Like he's constantly fighting for legitimacy. Sean Zattel put it funny in his post-fight video. He said, a better writer than me would paint Sebastian Fundora as a sympathetic figure because he comes in, he always wants to fight. He's fighting everybody who he can. He doesn't turn down any fights. When he shows up, he brings a fan-friendly style. So you would think people would be excited to see him. He's a very hittable guy, but he also goes out there and throws a bunch of punches and wears his man down and doesn't back down. And in a lot of ways, you would think that that's exactly what that is. That's a fan-friendly style. People would be excited to see him in the ring, but that's not the case. He doesn't turn heads like that. People aren't really that interested in seeing him. He's not this big name draw. This wasn't a pay-per-view that we saw. So it's interesting. What's going to be next for him, right? What's going to be the next thing? This guy's holds 2 belts, man. And he isn't really a big name guy. He's not drawing a whole bunch of fans. He's not drawing a whole bunch of money. He's got respect amongst other fighters and boxing insiders and things like that. But he's just not somebody who really turns the needle, who really turns the notch. So he comes back out, he fights Chordale Booker, and afterwards we hear from Samson Likovitz and from him himself. We're talking about 2 potential fights. We're talking about a young man who's a mandatory and Xander Zayas. And we're talking about him wanting to snatch up all the belts, which would put him against the IBF, Berkman Murtazilov. Look, Xander Zayas, in my opinion, will be good enough one day to beat Sebastian Fundora. I'm one of those guys that thinks Sebastian Fundora is not the truth at 154 pounds, man. He's just not. He's a nice enough guy. He goes in there, he fights hard, he does everything he's supposed to do, but I think he gets hit too much. He just gets hit too many times with too many big shots, and I think that what we saw from Brian Mendoza, and I'm going to go woulda, shoulda, coulda here, if Tim Tszyu wouldn't have got that cut, what we saw in those first 2 rounds of the fights would have been what we saw later on in the fight, right? He went out there with a great game plan of throwing single, hard, explosive shots. He was landing. He was going to break that man down. It wasn't going to go the distance. It's my opinion. We saw another instance of what we saw against Mendoza. And I think that that's going to be the case against the top of the line guys at 154 pounds when we're talking about Sebastian Fundora, man. I just don't think he's going to be able to go out there and beat the very top of the top. Worked out great for him the way that he's able to get these belts, puts him in the driver's seat, lets him get some money, but I don't think he's the best in the world at 154 pounds. Now, if he were to fight Xander Zayas next, he could very likely get that win because Zayas, as good as he is, he's still not seasoned enough as a pro. I think sometimes he goes out there and he doesn't fight with quite enough intention, right? He doesn't have enough of a game plan. He's able to go out there. He's overwhelm guys with his athleticism and his speed, his explosiveness, his punching power. Fundora's seasoned, man. He's not going to fall for that. It's going to be the other way around. Xander Zayas thinks he's going to go out there and land some hard shots, put Fundora on the back foot, maybe make him a little bit cautious, maybe make him question a little bit what he's able to do. It's going to be the other way, man, in the sense that Fundora is going to be able to come out and he's going to just apply that pressure and that work rate on Zayas. And after the third, maybe fourth round, Xander Zayas is going to get this feeling. He's like, I haven't quite seen this before. I'm not quite sure what to do. Every time I want to get my space and kind of breathe a little bit, this guy's like, he's got these octopus arms and he's always on top of me. And everywhere I try to go, the ring is going to seem small. Now, if this fight were to happen, say 2-3 years from now, high probability it plays out differently. If we're talking about Murtazaliev, dude, that guy is a beast. But he's also in a scenario where nobody's calling for him. Nobody's clamoring for him. He doesn't put people in the seats. He doesn't sell a bunch of tickets. He's not going to sell pay-per-views. He's not one of those guys. So when you talk about Sebastian Fundora and you talk about Murtazaliev, yes, that would be an awesome fight and one that we want to see. But all these guys are going to do is sit back and claim that it doesn't make business sense. It's not putting enough money in anybody's pocket. We'd be talking about fighting 3 belts on the line and nobody would be getting paid. My guess is that's the story that we'd hear. And then the other name that we hear, not from Fundora, not from Samson, but just another name that we hear because we know that he's a player at 154. He's got the interim. He's a mandatory. Vergil Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz is a beast, man. Now, the thing is, he generates popularity. He's got buzz. He's a guy who goes out there and makes it happen and fights ferociously and has a big fan base. But now we're talking about the politics of boxing. Sebastian Fundora is with PBC. Vergil Ortiz is with Golden Boy. Is that fight going to happen? Is that a fight that's going to get made? Unfortunately for us, when we're talking about that fight, I think we have to put it in the less likely category. So, comes out. Fundora gets the win, man. Good for him. You know, handshakes and high fives all around in the sense that the man went out there and got it done, defended his belts, got the 4th round stoppage and did it in a dominating fashion. But I don't know what he did for his buzz, man. I don't know what he did for his career. I don't know what he did for really getting people excited to see what's for him next. I don't know how this dude's going to turn around and make the money that he wants to make and make the fights that he wants to make at 154 pounds, despite the fact that he's got the fan-friendly style, that he always shows up, that he's got 2 of the belts already. He's just not generating that buzz. So let me know what you guys think. Who do you want to see him in there with next? What do you think is going to happen when he gets in with that person? Do you think there's any chance that I'm seeing this completely wrong and I'm just one of those guys who has not yet been converted and understand exactly what Fundora brings to the table? I know he'll be a tough out for a lot of guys, but that isn't the same as being the best in the division. Let me know what you guys think.